The massive crystal dome of the council chamber sparkled under the light of 3 moons. Inside, representatives from 12 alien species sat in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. The air smelled of various botanical perfumes, as each species tried to mask the natural scents of the others. Normally, council meetings were calm, organized affairs where members discussed trade routes and cultural exchanges. Today was different. Today they discussed extinction. "The reports from the outer systems confirm our worst fears," said Admiral Vorn as he gestured to the holographic display. His tall, thin body cast a long shadow across the floor. His skin, blue-gray and slightly metallic, reflected the red warning, "Lights of the display." "The Void Swarm has consumed 3 more planets in the Orion sector. Nothing survived." The hologram showed dark shapes moving like a storm cloud across the surface of a green planet. Within minutes, the green vanished, replaced by a churning black mass. The council members watched in silence. Some closed their multiple eyes or pulled breathing membranes tight. Ambassador Zilithax of the Etherian species stood up, her transparent wings catching the light. "Our most advanced weapons barely slow them down. The swarm adapts to everything we use against them. By the time we deploy a new technology, they have already evolved to resist it." "How long until they reach populated systems?" asked a reptilian diplomat, scales clicking together nervously. Admiral Vorn's faceplates shifted into what his species used for a frown. 2 months, maybe less." Panic spread through the chamber. Some representatives shouted over each other. Others sat in shocked silence. The Void Swarm had appeared 6 months ago at the edge of known space. At first, the council thought they were just another newly discovered species. Then the swarm consumed an entire research outpost. Since then, they had moved steadily inward, devouring everything in their path: planets, ships, space stations. Nothing stopped them. The council leader, an ancient being named Thaz, with skin like wrinkled bark, raised his gnarled hand. The chamber fell silent. "We have faced threats before," Thaz said, his voice surprisingly strong for his aged appearance. "The gas cloud entities of the Perseus Arm, the machine empire from the galactic core, we survived them all." "Those threats could be reasoned with," said Admiral Vorn. "They had goals we could understand. The Void Swarm only consumes. It does not communicate. It does not negotiate. It only adapts and devours." Ambassador Zilithax moved to the center of the chamber. She was younger than most representatives, only 80 years old. This made her bold where others were cautious. "There is one option we haven't considered," she said. "The humans." The chamber fell silent again, but differently. This silence came from shock. Most younger diplomats had never even seen a human. Earth had voluntarily withdrawn from galactic affairs nearly 300 years ago. Humanity had decided to enter collective cryosleep, awaiting a future they believed would better suit their restless nature. They had built massive sleep facilities orbiting their planet, leaving only automated systems to guard their solar system. The humans. Admiral Vorn's voice dripped with disbelief. "They chose to remove themselves from our society, and with good reason. They were unpredictable, chaotic. Their solutions often created more problems than they solved. But they were also innovative," Zilithax countered. "They thought in ways none of our species can. And they had a particular talent for warfare that none of us ever mastered. An insectoid." Diplomat clicked her mandibles in agitation. "The humans were dangerous. They achieved space travel while still fighting wars among themselves. They created weapons that could destroy planets before they had unified their own world." "Exactly," said Zilithax. "They understand destruction in ways we never have. Perhaps that's what we need now." The council leader Thaz looked troubled. "Awakening. The humans would change the balance of power in our galaxy. They reproduce and innovate quickly. If we invite them back into galactic society, they might soon dominate it. If we don't stop the Void Swarm, there will be no galactic society left to dominate," Zilithax replied. Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some council members supported approaching the humans. Others warned against it. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the council leader called for a vote. The results appeared on everyone's personal screens. 7 in favor, 5 against. Operation Awakening would proceed. "Who will go to Earth?" asked Admiral Vorn. "Their automated defenses are still active. They will destroy any unauthorized ships entering their system." "I will lead the mission," said Ambassador Kira of the Solari, speaking for the first time. The Solari were one of the few species humans had genuinely liked during their brief time in the galactic community. Kira's kind had skin that glowed softly with inner light, and they shared the human appreciation for art and music. "We should awaken only a few humans initially," Kira continued. "Those whose psychological profiles suggest they could adapt to our current situation without excessive shock. We need specialists in biology, warfare, engineering, security, and communication." "How many do you suggest?" asked Thaz. 5, said Kira. 5 humans to start. The council leader nodded slowly. "Prepare your ship, Ambassador Kira. Take our best medical team. The revival process will be delicate after so long. And remember, emphasize the threat to all life in the galaxy, including Earth. Make them understand that if the void swarm is not stopped, it will eventually reach their homeworld as well." Kira's skin brightened with determination. "I understand." 3 days later, the galactic diplomatic vessel, Eternal Dawn, departed Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world. Ambassador Kira stood on the bridge, watching stars stretch into lines as they entered faster than light travel. The weight of the galaxy's survival rested on her shoulders. In her quarters, she studied the 5 human files selected from the millions stored in the Council archives. These 5 would be the first humans to walk among alien stars in 3 centuries, and if all went well, they would help save the galaxy from the greatest threat it had ever known. As the ship traveled through the void between stars, Ambassador Kira wondered what these humans would be like. The records described them as emotional, unpredictable, creative, and sometimes frightening in their intensity. Most council species had evolved beyond many of the primal drives that still motivated humans. This made humans fascinating, dangerous, and possibly exactly what the galaxy needed right now. The Eternal Dawn continued its journey toward Earth, carrying hope and uncertainty in equal measure. Behind them, the void swarm consumed another star system, growing stronger with each passing day. The Eternal Dawn slowed as it entered the Sol system. Ambassador Kira stood at the main viewport, watching as the blue-green planet called Earth grew larger. Around its moon orbited the massive Cryo facility where millions of humans slept, unaware that 3 centuries had passed since they closed their eyes. "Automated defense systems detected," said the pilot, a thin-fingered meridian with eyes that blinked sideways. "They're scanning us." Ancient weapons platforms awakened around them, targeting systems locked onto the alien ship. Kira held her breath. This was the first test. If the human defense systems rejected their diplomatic codes, the mission would end before it began. "Broadcasting identification and access codes," said the communications officer. The codes had been preserved in Council archives from the time when humans still walked among the stars. Long seconds passed. Then the weapons platforms powered down. "Access granted," the pilot announced, setting course for docking bay C7. The Cryo facility was enormous, a marvel of human engineering. The facility's automated systems had maintained perfect conditions for 300 years. As the Eternal Dawn docked, Kira felt a mixture of wonder and nervousness. No council member had spoken with a human in generations. The medical team gathered their equipment as Kira reviewed the 5 personnel files. 1. Last time, Commander Frank Murphy had been a tactical expert and military leader. His file noted his ability to make quick decisions under pressure and his talent for unorthodox strategies. Dr. Alice Carter was a xenobiologist who specialized in invasive species. She had studied dangerous life forms across 17 planets before the human withdrawal. Chief Engineer Samantha Butler had designed weapon systems that many council species found disturbing but effective. Her mind worked in ways that even the most advanced AI struggled to predict. Security Officer Kyle Jenkins was an expert in hand-to-hand combat and field tactics. His file contained warnings about his aggressive approach to problem-solving communications. Specialist Daniel Garcia was both a linguist and diplomat, fluent in 27 alien languages. He had been known for his ability to find common ground between different species. The alien team entered the cryo facility. The air inside was perfectly maintained but had a sterile quality. Lights activated automatically as they moved through the halls. They passed row after row of cryopods, each containing a sleeping human. The medical team consulted their instruments, searching for the 5 humans they had come to awaken. "Life signs stable in all 5 targets," said the chief medical officer, Dr. Nels. His forearms moved quickly over his equipment. "Beginning revival sequence." The process was delicate. Reviving a being from cryosleep after 300 years required careful monitoring. The team watched anxiously as vital signs began to strengthen in each pod. Body temperatures rose slowly. Heart rates increased. Brain activity intensified. Commander Frank Murphy was the first to show signs of waking. His eyelids fluttered. His fingers twitched. Then his eyes opened. Sharp blue eyes that immediately focused on the alien faces around him. "You're about 300 years early," he said, his voice rough from centuries of disuse. "I hope you've got a damn good reason." The revival of the other 4 humans followed quickly. Dr. Carter awoke with clinical questions about the revival process. Engineer Butler immediately asked about technological advances. Officer Jenkins woke ready for a fight, calming only when Commander Murphy ordered him to stand down. Specialist Garcia woke more peacefully, greeting the aliens in their own languages. "Ambassador." Kira addressed them once they were all conscious. "I apologize for disturbing your rest before the planned revival date. My name is Ambassador Kira of the Solari, representing the Galactic Council. The Council must be desperate if they're waking us up," said Murphy, accepting a nutrient drink from a medical assistant. His body was thin after centuries in suspension, but his eyes were alert and calculating. "We face extinction," Kira said simply. "A threat called the Void Swarm is consuming all life in the galaxy. Our weapons and tactics are ineffective. The swarm adapts to everything we use against it." Dr. Carter's interest was immediately captured. "Biological or mechanical?" "Biological, but unlike anything we've encountered before, it consumes and adapts at an alarming rate." "Show me the data," Carter demanded. A medical officer handed her a tablet displaying information about the swarm. She began reading immediately, her eyes widening at what she saw. Meanwhile, Engineer Butler had already begun sketching weapon designs on her medical chart. "If it adapts to energy weapons, we go kinetic. If it adapts to kinetic, we try chemical." "How many planets have been lost?" asked Garcia, the diplomat. 27 so far," said Kira. 3 billion lives. Jenkins whistled. "And your fancy council with all its advanced technology couldn't handle some space bugs?" Ambassador Kira's skin dimmed slightly with embarrassment. "The council species have evolved beyond many of the aggressive instincts that drive innovation in combat situations. We perfect our technologies slowly, deliberately. The Void Swarm adapts too quickly for our methods." Murphy swung his legs over the side of the medical bed. His movements were stiff but growing more fluid by the minute. "Let me get this straight. You've got 12 species with technology centuries ahead of what we had when we went to sleep, and you still can't handle these bugs?" "The Void Swarm adapts to every weapon and strategy we deploy," explained Kira. "They learn, evolve, and counter within hours." Kyle Jenkins stretched his muscles. "Sounds like they haven't met humans before. We wrote the book on adaptation." "How long until the swarm reaches Earth?" asked Murphy. "At current speeds, perhaps 8 months," said Kira. "But we don't believe they know about Earth yet." Daniel Garcia, ever the diplomat, stood up and smoothed his medical gown. "Ambassador Kira, on behalf of humanity, we accept the Council's request for assistance. But we'll need to wake more of our people and we'll need resources." Murphy nodded in agreement. "We'll need at least 500 specialists to start. Military strategists, engineers, scientists." 500? Kira's skin flashed with alarm. The Council authorized only 5. The Council isn't fighting this war, said Murphy. We are, and we'll need our people to do it. Samantha Butler looked up from her sketches. We'll also need materials, manufacturing facilities, and access to all data on the swarm's behavior patterns. Kira hesitated, then nodded. I will contact the Council, but given the emergency, I believe I can authorize the additional revivals while we wait for their response. Smart decision, said Murphy with a thin smile. Now show us what we're up against. Full tactical displays, all encounters, ship capabilities, everything. As Kira led them to the ship's briefing room, the 5 humans exchanged looks that the ambassador couldn't quite interpret. After 3 centuries of sleep, humanity was about to return to the galactic stage, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks later, a small city of awakened humans populated a section of the Council's military headquarters on Nexus Prime. The Council had reluctantly approved Murphy's request for 500 specialists. Now aliens watched with a mixture of fascination and alarm as humans transformed their orderly military operations into what appeared to be chaos. In the main engineering bay, Samantha Butler led a team of 30 human engineers. They had taken apart Council weapons and were rebuilding them in ways that made the alien engineers nervous. No, connect the plasma injector to the kinetic launcher, Butler instructed a young engineer. We want both systems firing at once on different timing sequences. But Chief Butler, said an alien engineer with 6 tentacle-like arms, those systems aren't designed to work together. The energy patterns will be unpredictable. Exactly, Butler smiled. That's the point. Across the facility, Dr. Alice Carter worked in the biological research lab. She stared through an advanced microscope at living tissue samples from the void swarm. The samples were kept in special containment fields to prevent any possibility of escape. Remarkable, she muttered. Their cellular structure reconfigures almost instantly when exposed to a threat. An alien scientist named Zix floated nearby, his gas-filled body contained in a transparent suit. We've tried every toxin in our database. The swarm adapts within minutes. Carter looked up with excitement in her eyes. But they adapt to specific threats. They reconfigure to counter whatever damaged them last. She tapped her fingers on the workstation. They've evolved to counter precision. Have you tried random, unpredictable attack patterns? Random? Zix's inner gases shifted in confusion. Our weapons are designed for maximum efficiency and precision. Why would we make them random? Because the swarm can't prepare for what it can't predict, Carter explained. Let's test it. In the training center, Kyle Jenkins taught hand-to-hand combat to a mixed group of aliens. Most Council species relied on weapons and had little experience with physical fighting. Your natural instinct is to use consistent, practiced movements, Jenkins explained as he circled a tall, 4-armed alien. Forget that. Be unpredictable. Switch techniques mid-attack. He demonstrated by starting a standard punch, then suddenly dropping to sweep the alien's legs. The surprised alien crashed to the floor. The void swarm learns patterns, Jenkins continued, helping his opponent up. So don't have any patterns. Meanwhile, Commander Murphy and Daniel Garcia met with Admiral Vorn and other Council military leaders. They stood around a holographic display showing the spread of the void swarm. Your weapons are too predictable, Murphy said. Same energy signatures, same attack patterns. The swarm learns what to expect and adapts. Our military doctrine emphasizes efficiency and precision, said Admiral Vorn stiffly. Each attack is calculated for maximum effect, which is exactly why you're losing, Murphy replied. Engineer Butler has developed what we call Operation Shotgun. Instead of precise weapons, we go low-tech and high-impact. Random patterns, inconsistent. Damage types, constantly shifting tactics. Garcia, ever the diplomat, stepped in. What Commander Murphy means is that humans have a different approach to warfare. We believe it may be effective against the swarm. Admiral Vorn looked unconvinced. Show me. In the testing chamber, Butler demonstrated a prototype weapon combining primitive projectiles with energy pulses in random sequences. When fired at a contained swarm sample, The unpredictable attack overwhelmed its adaptive abilities. The first few shots damage it normally, Butler explained. Then it starts to adapt to the energy pattern. But by then, physical projectiles hit it. When it adapts to those, the energy pattern has already changed to something new, organized. Chaos, Murphy said with satisfaction. Humans specialize in it. Later that day, Daniel Garcia worked alone in the archives, searching through historical records of the Void Swarm. Something didn't add up about the timing of their appearance. As he dug deeper into classified council files, he found references to a contingency measure that coincided with the swarm's first appearance. Garcia frowned at his screen. Why would a council containment protocol activate at the same time an unknown species appeared? Unless... His thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. Joe Harris, a former construction worker who had been revived because of his talent for repurposing equipment, entered the archive room. Garcia, you need to see this, Harris said quietly. I was converting some mining equipment into weapons when I found something strange. He handed Garcia a small data device. I recorded some council members talking. They mentioned something called Project Cleanse and necessary evolutionary pressure. They didn't know I was there. Garcia plugged in the device and listened. His eyes widened. We need to tell Murphy and the others, privately. That night, the 5 original humans met in Murphy's quarters. The room had been swept for listening devices by Jenkins. The evidence suggests the Void Swarm isn't a natural species, Garcia explained. I think it was engineered. By whom? Asked Carter. By members of the council, Garcia replied. I found records suggesting 3 species, the Valorians, Nexti, and Drell, were working on biological weapons to use against evolutionary undesirables. They created the swarm as a weapon? Butler's voice was filled with disbelief. As a filter, Garcia corrected. A way to eliminate species they deemed unworthy of joining galactic society. But it got out of control. Now it threatens everyone. Murphy's face hardened. We need proof before we make accusations, and we need to make sure the rest of the council isn't involved. There's more, Jenkins added. Security noticed unusual communications between certain council members and an unknown location. They're trying to block some of our weapon developments. We keep this information between us for now, Murphy decided. We focus on stopping the swarm first, but we watch the council members carefully. The next morning, Admiral Vorn called an emergency meeting. The Void Swarm had accelerated its advance. It would reach the heavily populated Rigel system within days. We need to deploy immediately, Vorn announced. Our fleet will try to hold them at the Rigel system's edge. Murphy stepped forward. My team is ready. We've retrofitted 20 ships with our new weapon systems. Your weapons are untested in actual combat, Vorn objected. Then Rigel will be the test, Murphy replied firmly. But I want human crews operating those weapons. Your people aren't trained in our methods. After tense negotiations, Vorn agreed to a joint operation. Human weapons specialists would serve on council ships, implementing what Murphy called the Crazy Ivan Protocol, a battle plan that changed completely every 15 minutes. As the fleet prepared to depart, Dr. Carter approached Murphy privately. Frank, I've been studying the swarm's genetic makeup, she said quietly. Garcia is right. It's engineered. Its adaptive abilities are too perfect, too specialized. Someone designed this thing. Murphy nodded grimly. Keep working on a biological countermeasure. If our weapons fail, we'll need a backup plan. The next day, the combined fleet jumped to the Rigel system. As they emerged from faster-than-light travel, the sensors immediately detected the Void Swarm approaching the system's outermost planet. All ships, prepare for battle. Admiral Vorn announced over the fleet-wide channel. Deploy according to Human Protocol Alpha. The fleet moved into position. On board each ship, human specialists waited at their stations, hands hovering over controls that were centuries more advanced than what they had known before cryo sleep. The Void Swarm sensed them and changed course, heading directly for the fleet. The first true test of humanity's chaotic strategy was about to begin. The void swarm moved like a dark cloud through space, approaching the fleet defending the Rigel system. On the command ship, Admiral Vorn stood beside Commander Murphy, both watching the tactical display with intense focus. "They're faster than our reports indicated," Vorn said, his metallic skin reflecting the red warning lights. "They've evolved again." Murphy nodded. "Remember the plan? We stick with each attack pattern for exactly 15 minutes, then switch completely regardless of whether it's working or not." Vorn's faceplates shifted in what humans had learned was an expression of confusion. "But if a strategy is succeeding, why abandon it?" "Because by minute 16 the swarm will have adapted," Murphy explained. "We change before they can counter us." The human commander activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Commander Murphy. Begin Crazy Ivan Protocol, Pattern Alpha. Execute now." The fleet broke formation, ships moving in seemingly random patterns. Some accelerated toward the swarm while others hung back. Weapons fire erupted in irregular bursts rather than coordinated volleys. The void swarm reacted with confusion. Used to the precise, predictable attacks of Council forces, it struggled to adapt to the chaotic human strategy. Sections of the swarm began to break apart under the assault. Ambassador Kira watched from the command ship. She had insisted on observing the battle firsthand, despite the danger. Beside her stood Daniel Garcia, who divided his attention between the battle and a datapad showing communications traffic between certain Council ships. "The Valorian cruiser is broadcasting on a restricted frequency," Garcia whispered to Kira. "Can you access it?" Kira looked troubled but nodded. She used her Council authority to patch into the communication. Both she and Garcia listened through. "Small earpieces. Must prevent complete destruction of the swarm," a voice said. "Sabotage the human weapons on ships in Sector 4. We need to preserve enough of the primary strain for recovery." Kira's skin paled to a dim glow. "That's Councillor Drez of the Valorian species. He's ordering his people to sabotage your weapons." Garcia's face hardened. "Just as we suspected. They're trying to protect the swarm." On the tactical display, the battle continued. 14 minutes into the first attack pattern, the swarm began showing signs of adaptation, its movements becoming more resistant to the fleet's weapons. "All ships, switch to pattern beta," Murphy ordered, exactly at the 15-minute mark. "Execute now." The fleet immediately changed tactics. Ships that had been attacking pulled back. Others that had been hanging back surged forward. Weapon configurations changed completely. "But our current approach is working," Admiral Vorn protested. "The swarm was taking damage." "Exactly why we're changing it," Murphy responded. "Watch." Sure enough, the swarm had begun adapting to the first attack pattern. Its new defenses proved useless against the completely different second pattern. More sections of the swarm broke apart under the assault. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Commander, ships in Sector 4 are reporting weapons malfunctions," reported a human tactical officer. "Their retrofitted systems are shutting down." Garcia moved quickly to Murphy's side. "It's sabotage. The Valorians are trying to protect the swarm." Murphy's eyes narrowed. "Alert Security Officer Jenkins. Tell him to secure all Valorian crew members on those ships. Admiral Vorn, I need you to authorize emergency override codes." Vorn hesitated, his loyalty to the Council at war with the evidence before him. Finally, he nodded. "Granted." Engineer Butler's voice came through the communication system. "This is Butler. I've identified the sabotage pattern, sending countermeasures to all ships now." As the battle continued, Jenkins led security teams throughout the fleet, detaining Valorian crew members. On one ship, a Valorian officer was caught, trying to release a captured swarm sample from containment. By the fourth pattern change, the void swarm was clearly losing the battle. Unable to adapt quickly enough to the constantly shifting human tactics, large portions of it had been destroyed. The remainder began to retreat from the Rigel system. "They're running," Admiral Vorn said with disbelief. "I've never seen the swarm retreat before." "They're learning that they can't learn fast enough," Murphy replied. "But we can't let them escape to adapt further. All ships, execute pursuit pattern Delta." The fleet followed the retreating swarm, continuing to apply pressure with ever-changing tactics. By the end of the day, the Void Swarm and the Rigel system had been completely destroyed. As the fleet regrouped, Garcia and Ambassador Kira brought their evidence to Admiral Vorn and Commander Murphy. "The communications we intercepted confirm it," Garcia said. "The Valorians, Nexti, and Drell engineered the Void Swarm as a means of controlling which species would survive to join the galactic community. They called it evolutionary pressure," Kira added, her skin dim with shame. "A way to ensure only species that met their standards would reach the stars." "They created this nightmare?" Vorn asked, his voice mixing shock and rage. "Billions have died." "The swarm grew beyond their control," Garcia explained. "It was designed to eliminate primitive species, then be recalled once its task was complete. But it evolved too quickly and broke free of their command signals." Murphy's face was grim. "We need to present this evidence to the full council." "Half the council may be involved," warned Kira. "Then we deal with half the council," Jenkins said from the doorway, where he stood with several human security officers. "We have Valorian officers in custody who are willing to testify in exchange for leniency." Back on Nexus Prime, news of the victory at Rigel spread quickly. For the first time since the swarm appeared, people felt hope. But political tensions within the council reached a breaking point as rumors spread about certain members' involvement in creating the threat. Dr. Carter worked day and night in her lab, developing a biological countermeasure against the swarm. "If we can introduce this modified virus into the main swarm cluster," she explained to Murphy, "it will disrupt their adaptive capabilities long enough for our weapons to destroy them completely." As preparations began for a final assault on the swarm's main concentration, Daniel Garcia discovered something disturbing in the communications they had intercepted. "Commander, there's a hidden facility mentioned in these files," he told Murphy. "A laboratory where they developed the original swarm prototype. If we can reach it, we might find a master control system or weakness we can exploit." Murphy studied the coordinates. "It's deep in Valorian territory, heavily guarded. A small team could infiltrate it," Jenkins suggested. "While the main fleet engages the swarm, we slip in and find whatever control systems exist." As they planned, the two-pronged attack tensions on Nexus Prime grew. Some council members called for placing all military authority under human command. Others warned of the dangers of giving too much power to such an unpredictable species. Ambassador Kira found herself caught between loyalty to the council and her growing respect for the humans. "The council system is flawed," she admitted to Garcia, "but replacing it with human authority might lead to different problems." "We don't want to rule the galaxy," Garcia assured her. "We just want to save it. After that, maybe we can build something better together." The final assault was scheduled for 3 days later. As the fleet prepared to depart, Murphy gathered his original team. "This ends at the swarm's main cluster," he told them. "One way or another, we finish this." The final confrontation occurred in 2 places at once. In deep space, Commander Murphy led the combined fleet against the Void Swarm's main hive cluster. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Daniel Garcia, Dr. Carter, and Kyle Jenkins prepared to confront the council with evidence of betrayal. Murphy stood on the bridge of the flagship, now renamed Humanity's Return. The view screen showed the largest concentration of the Void Swarm ever detected. It spread across an entire star system, blocking out the light of the central sun. "All ships report ready, Commander," said Admiral Vorn, who had chosen to support the humans after seeing the evidence against his fellow council members. "Commence Operation Final Thunder," Murphy ordered. "All groups cycle through attack patterns as trained. Remember, no pattern lasts more than 15 minutes. The fleet moved forward, employing the full spectrum of human battle tactics. Some ships used advanced energy weapons. Others fired what amounted to giant shotguns loaded with random materials. Some rammed through the edges of the swarm with reinforced shields. The attack had no pattern the swarm could adapt to. On Nexus Prime, Garcia, Carter, and Jenkins entered the council chamber with Ambassador Kira and a security team. The full council was in session, discussing the ongoing war. "What is the meaning of this interruption?" demanded Councillor Drez of the Valorians. one of the species implicated in creating the swarm. Garcia stepped forward. We have evidence that 3 council species engineered the Void Swarm as a weapon of genocide. He projected the proof onto the chamber's main display. Laboratory records, communications, genetic analysis showing the swarm's engineered origins. The council chamber erupted in chaos as the uninvolved members reacted with shock and anger. You created this threat to cull developing civilizations, Garcia addressed the stunned chamber, to ensure only species that met your standards would reach the stars. Counselor Drez stood up, his face hard. The galaxy needed guidance. Too many violent, unpredictable species were achieving space travel. We created a filter to ensure only the worthy would join galactic society. You murdered billions, said Jenkins, his hand resting on his weapon. Unnecessary sacrifice for long-term stability, said another implicated counselor, her scaled skin flushing dark with emotion. Suddenly, hidden defense systems activated within the council chamber. Energy barriers separated the accused counselors from the others. You cannot judge us, hissed Counselor Drez. We have led the galaxy for millennia while your kind slept. Your control is over, said Dr. Carter, stepping forward. We've neutralized your hidden defenses. She nodded to Engineer Butler, who had quietly entered the chamber and disabled the security systems. In space, the battle against the swarm reached a critical point. After hours of fighting, the constant changes in tactics had confused the swarm's adaptive abilities. Large sections were being destroyed, but the core remained strong. Dr. Carter's biological weapon is ready for deployment, reported a tactical officer. Delivery ships are in position. Launch when ready, Murphy ordered. Special missiles penetrated deep into the swarm, releasing a virus Dr. Carter had engineered. It spread quickly through the interconnected swarm, temporarily blocking its ability to adapt. The fleet immediately concentrated all firepower on the vulnerable hive core. Back in the council chamber, the confrontation reached its climax. Council security forces loyal to the uncorrupted members arrested the conspirators. But Counselor Drez activated a hidden device on his wrist. If we fall, so does everything, he snarled. This facility contains dormant swarm cells. With one command, I can release them into the heart of Nexus Prime. Jenkins reacted instantly, firing a stun blast that dropped the counselor before he could complete the command. Butler rushed forward to disarm the device. Containment protocols activated, Butler announced after examining the system. The threat is neutralized. In space, Murphy watched as the swarm's central core collapsed under the combined attack. Without its ability to adapt, the swarm could not withstand the fleet's firepower. After one final, massive explosion, sensors confirmed the swarm was completely destroyed. We did it, Admiral Vorn said quietly. The threat is over. Murphy nodded, his face showing exhaustion and relief. Contact Nexus Prime. Let them know the swarm is finished. 3 days later, the fleet returned to a galaxy forever changed. The Galactic Council underwent a complete reorganization. The 3 species involved in creating the swarm were stripped of their council seats pending criminal trials. Representatives from younger species were invited to join, bringing fresh perspectives. Most importantly, humanity was offered a permanent seat on the council. The galaxy needs your unique perspective, the new council leader told Commander Murphy. Your unpredictability, your creativity, they're not flaws as we once thought, but strengths. The 5 original awakened humans gathered in a quiet room to discuss the offer. If we accept, it means staying awake, Murphy said, not returning to cryosleep. The galaxy has changed, Garcia noted. Perhaps it's finally ready for humans. We could guide the development of a more balanced council, Dr. Carter suggested, one that values diversity rather than conformity. And make sure no one creates another swarm, added Jenkins. Butler smiled. Plus, think of all the amazing technology we can work with now. In the end, they chose different paths. Murphy established a new military academy teaching human tactical thinking to all species. Butler revolutionized council technology with human innovations. Jenkins created an interspecies security force. Garcia became humanity's first new ambassador to the Reformed Council. Dr. Carter chose the most surprising path. She led a project to repurpose the remaining controlled swarm cells into beneficial organisms that could help repair the damage done to dozens of worlds. More humans were awakened from cryosleep, though many chose to remain in suspension until Earth's original revival date. Those who woke found a galaxy that now welcomed their unique human qualities: creativity, adaptability, and unpredictability. 6 months later, a new Galactic Council chamber opened on Nexus Prime. Species from across the galaxy gathered under a new motto etched in multiple languages. In English it read, "Progress through diversity, strength through difference." During the ceremony, Ambassador Kira approached Garcia with a question that had been bothering her. "When your people went into cryosleep centuries ago, did you somehow know you would be needed one day?" Garcia smiled. "No. We just knew we were too restless for the peaceful galaxy of that time. Humans need challenges to overcome. We need problems to solve." "Well," said Kira, looking around at the diverse gathering of species, "I'd say you found both." A small plaque beneath the new council chamber's entrance commemorated the day when, facing extinction, the Galactic Council didn't know what to do, so they woke the humans from cryosleep and changed the course of history forever.